Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, President and CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Dr. Samreen Mongillo. Dr. Samreen Mongillo is a success and life coach and has her doctorate degree in physical therapy. She is passionate about empowering women to own their power so they can live their best life. Samreen helps her clients by giving them the tools to create a success mindset, greater self-love, and confidence through her 7-step Live Your Best Life system. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Dr. Samreen Mongillo. Hello, Dr. Samreen. How are you?
Hello. I am good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I'm excited. As you know, we talked prior to getting this started, and I just can't wait to hear your story about your beautiful name, and then, of course, all the other things. So, of course, so I'm like, wow, that's a great name. So definitely can't hear that, the meaning behind all of that. But before we get started in that, why don't you please tell my listeners just a little bit more and who really Dr. Samreen Mongillo is?
Oh, yes. So I am a success and life coach, and I help women manage stress, so reduce stress and eliminate burnout. I have 7 tools that I use to help them accomplish that. I also am a physical therapist. I've been practicing for over a decade now, and so I am a mom. I have a 5-year-old, and I love working out. It's just juggling several things. I'm very fortunate to be able to enjoy what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you sound busy. And I mean, from everything you just described, and of course, we're going to dig a little deeper into that, here in a few minutes. But I was sitting here thinking in the back of my mind that you do physical therapy, and I want to know how the two of them mix between the physical therapy and becoming a success and life coach, because obviously in therapy, you're helping and saving people to some degree to do better for themselves. So tell me how you combined both of them and how it kind of came to be.
Yeah. So definitely they are related. And basically, I decided to, after working as a physical therapist for probably about 5 years into that career, I started to think about branching off also with a side business with life coaching. And, I'm really passionate about helping people. That's how I started with physical therapy. And life coaching is very similar. But what happened is when I would work with my patients for physical therapy, I started to notice the strong connection between the mind and body in terms of the outcomes the patients had. So, for instance, if I had a patient that primarily focused on their pain, say they had knee pain, and every time they came, they just dwelled on the pain. And it's one thing if they have excruciating pain and then they need a pain management doctor, then they need to seek other avenues. But I'm talking about someone who has moderate pain, but it's focusing on it so much that it exacerbates it. That I have seen so much of in terms of a pattern where patients like that tend not to do well with their outcomes. Then at the same time, there are patients that don't focus. It's like they have pain. I'll ask them subjectively to rate their level of pain on a scale of 0 to 10, and they will give me a number that's comparable to, say, someone who looked at their pain level, like they said it's high, but they kept focusing on it. Someone with a good outcome in therapy, they don't focus on the pain. They're like, okay, yeah, it's high, but I know I can get through this. I know that they focus on the positive. They do their home exercises. They don't dwell on the pain. And so I started noticing this huge correlation because I truly believe that the mind and body are connected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's such a simple thing that I think we take for granted because it is so simple. But I think one of the most powerful things that we can do as individuals is create a positive mindset. Because really, in any area of life, I mean, I saw it with my physical therapy patients, but you can apply to every single area of your life. If you think a positive thought, you are going to have a positive outcome, most likely. And the same is true as if you have a negative thought, it's going to lead to a negative outcome. It's just like the law of nature. It's just, you know, what you focus on expands. It's like the law of attraction.
Right. And I definitely agree with that. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You were going to say something else?
So that's basically how I came to start my life coaching business. I just was fascinated by that concept of the mind and body being so connected. And I thought, well, let me, you know, start my business and focus on that for people who have goals in their life. And it started to turn into more coaching women who are burnt out, you know, like high achievers. And that's kind of like my journey too. I've always been an overachiever, always worked so hard. And, you know, you get to a point where the balance is not there, and then your health suffers. Right. And so that's why my focus in coaching is helping people, primarily women, but really focusing on reducing stress and really eliminating burnout, because chronic stress will lead to burnout.
Right. Yeah. I was sitting here thinking about, you know, when you were talking earlier about how the two connect. When you have a person who, you know, when you're in physical therapy, you obviously have pain because, you know, you're there for that purpose, to get rid of the pain and be able to move forward. And it is amazing how, you know, you can come in and, you know, you may have started out with a great attitude, but then when you walk through the door, you may have this attitude of, I don't want to do this. This is, you know, not what I want to be here for, and so forth and so on. So, you know, when you're dealing with people who have that mindset, it makes it very difficult for anybody to move forward. And then to connect the two, that we all find and realize that in life, and especially in our careers, whether you're in business, that we do held, you know, a high regard of stress because we're trying to reach a certain goal, whether it's for us or whether it's for the people that we're working for. You know, in order to meet that goal, we're doing more than what we need to be doing. And, you know, and then, of course, sometimes we're not appreciated for it. So then you find yourself not being balanced in that way. So what I want to, I guess my question is really is that, you know, being these last few years, we're, you know, here we are kind of going on the third year of this pandemic, and everybody's trying to rebalance their lives. What happened to those people that you were connected with during the time that you could not physically be in front of them? But what were you doing behind the scenes with them in order for them to maintain themselves and to move forward?
You mean with my current clients?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we would check in, do like check-ins during the week to make sure that they are on track with their goals. And really, when most of my clients, they are online or, you know, the physical therapy patient.
Okay.
I do that at the hospital. That's outpatient. But for the coaching, that's all online. So we continue. There really were not any breaks. You know, it's mostly for accountability and the support and the guidance to help them create those long-lasting habits.
Right. Did you find that there was a more of an increase during that time because people were, you know, they had to sit still. They couldn't leave their homes. You know, we all were kind of stuck around, and we had to start doing things differently. Our mindset had to change. There was no longer that rat race anymore. So did you find that there were more people coming to you in order to kind of get that different balance, that new balance and that new mindset?
It did not happen when things were starting, and actually when they started getting really bad. It was slow. But as people started to realize, you know, the shock of everything started to settle in, and people started to resume somewhat of a normal life, I think that's when people started reaching out. So it's probably the end of 2020 when people started doing that.
Okay. So talk to the listeners about what does it take to think more of a successful mindset? What is the advice that you provide to somebody who feels like they are on a rat on a wheel and can't slow down? They're not really, meeting the goals they want to meet, but they just constantly keep going to try to get there. And we know it's based on really stress. But so what is the advice that you give them?
So there's several components to this, and that's really what I dive deeper into with my clients. But I definitely can say that the biggest thing you can do is, and the number one thing is to start focusing on creating positive self-talk. Because most of us are not even aware of the thoughts that we have. If we're feeling stressed, that's the time to ask ourselves, what are we thinking? Because oftentimes, there can be environmental stresses, you can get sick, there can be things out of our control, but if we have negative thoughts, negative self-talk, it can lead to even more stress. So during times of stress, I would highly encourage asking yourself, the step would be, first, ask yourself, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts the moments that you have stress? Really all the time, you want to be aware of your self-talk. You need to be your own best cheerleader. It's like we all have an inner child within us, no matter how old we are. We all need that encouragement. And I think people, especially women who are in high-achieving women, they often get burnt out. And they have wonderful qualities, but they oftentimes put their self-care on the back burner. And that includes how they treat themselves as far as their self-talk. So I would say that's the first step. Now, it's not that easy. If someone has a habit of focusing on negative self-talk, you can't just say think positively. They have to change that habit. And the best way to change that is really looking at the root cause of what's causing the habitual tendency of negative self-talk. And what it is a limiting belief, because our beliefs create our thoughts, and then our thoughts create our ultimately reality. One of the best quotes, one of my favorite quotes, is by Susan Taylor, and she says, "Whatever we believe about ourselves and our ability comes true for us." So, a lot of times if we're hard on ourselves or we hesitate to accomplish our goals, if we fail, we're like, okay, why did this happen? What's important is to be resilient. Nobody's perfect. You get back on track, but remember that it comes down to belief. And oftentimes those limiting beliefs are developed in childhood. So, it's not a big process, but people do have to take time to start shifting those limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs in order to move forward. Otherwise, those limiting beliefs, they carry them into their adulthood.
Right. Absolutely. And we all know is that when we're kids that we don't overthink what we're doing. You enjoy life until somebody tells you differently. And then it becomes this thought process of, well, why did they say that, about me? Or, why do they feel that way about me? They, the thought and their mindset changes if somebody's telling them something negative. And then, of course, like you said, we carry that into as adults. We don't forget those things, even though we may try to, but there's always something that will set you back. And then, of course, we all know we are our worst critics. And especially as women, we are always criticizing ourselves. So when you talk about that greater self-love and trying to build that confidence, that's like this, it's something that goes back and forth consistently, where you're great one day and then you're down the next day. So trying to maintain that and hold on to that as a part of your mindset is definitely, it can be difficult, but it can definitely be achieved, and I think that's the key.
Absolutely. And a lot of these limiting beliefs, the majority of them we get in our childhood from peers, society, parents, teachers, and they're almost like subconscious messages that we get. And it's just unfortunate because people, there's therapists out there that don't discuss this. There's other coaches that don't touch on this. This is not a step that you can overlook. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping women, because I feel like, this was the key for me in my journey. And once I started to focus on shifting the limiting beliefs, which really entails focusing on, you really have to focus on what's the truth of that limiting belief. Because if you start to examine the limiting belief and start to focus on what, is it true? What are the facts around it? You have to be like an investigator on, ask questions.
Yes.
And once I started doing that in my own life, it's like the switch went off. And once you realize that the limiting belief is actually false, you tend not to go back because you know the truth. You don't believe a lie.
Absolutely. Well, that's another topic, but there are many people, there are many people who you could tell them that you can see that the sky is blue every day, but in their mindset, even though they're looking at it, they will still tell you it's not blue. So, I definitely agree with what you're saying, is that I especially love when you just said the fact that you have to be your own investigator. You have to stop constantly believing everything, research it, understand what it is that you're thinking before you start making these accusations or assuming something is not right with you or whatever's around you, because we hear and see a lot of that in our society consistently. And I definitely, and especially today, it's almost like somebody just threw out, this ball and said like, okay, everybody, here's your negativity for the day, for the year, for the week, for the rest of your life, because people are just not thinking anymore. I just try to understand, why would you believe this when you have never even thought about researching it yourself?
Yeah, I think that one of the problems is that we run on autopilot. We're sometimes we're so much in our head that like we're not present in the moment, and we're just so busy that we don't even focus on our thoughts so much. But I think going back to asking questions, I think it's important, definitely with the shifting the limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs, and really every area of your life. And that's what I do with my clients. I dive deep into each area and help them make that shift. And it's actually not as challenging or time consuming as people might think. But that's important. Asking those questions, being your own investigator, but also asking questions. We're talking about, you asked earlier about how to create that positive mindset, successful mindset. So you need to also ask questions. So sometimes when you catch yourself feeling very stressed, ask yourself, what is it thinking? And is that thought serving you? And is that thought a fact? Sometimes we catastrophize things, and also, we don't think about the facts around the thought too. So, does that thought serve us? In any given moment, we have a choice to focus on, regardless of the situation, no matter how bad it is. Sometimes it's really bad, I understand, but regardless of the situation, you can always look at the cup as half full. Because in any given moment, you can't look at it both ways.
Right.
So choose to focus on the positive aspect. I firmly believe that.
And I agree. And I love that you just said we have a choice. And there's a lot of times
absolutely.
And like, there are some things we do know that, that are sometimes completely out of our control, but then that even once you learn what that circumstances or situation is, you still get the opportunity to make a choice. And whether you go left or right, is going to depend on how it affects you and affects the people around you and your whole life. So, I agree, absolutely 100% agree with what you're saying, that, it taking the time to really truly understand who you are, why you're thinking these thoughts, investigate those things that are coming to you. Do they serve you properly or not? If it doesn't, then why are you holding on to something that is not serving you well? Exactly.
Yeah, it's very empowering to start to get into that habit of thinking, very positive, because then you start seeing the shift in your life.
Right.
But it's not easy. It's not like a magic pill. It's a process, and the more you do things on focusing on your self-care, the easier it is. But it's just not. I'm not talking about like, taking a bubble bath or getting a massage. All of those things are great, but I mean, yeah, of course, they're wonderful.
Right.
But really, the key things, the most powerful things that can help with shifting the mindset and promoting greater self-care are things like having a daily meditation practice, and not necessarily very long, but just having that quiet time for yourself in the day, where you can actually quiet your thoughts and get in touch with, I truly believe during meditation, you can connect to your highest self. And I think people struggling with low self-esteem or confidence issues, if they just start a meditation practice, it can do wonders for their confidence, because I really think it helps them tap into their inner guidance. I truly believe we're all so capable of, and amazing. We're just capable of achieving so much. We have so much potential, but it's a matter of tapping into that. And so meditation, I think, is a powerful way to do that. There's lots of things. There's like gratitude practice, having, I love having a gratitude journal. I write in it every day. It changes your mindset when you do that.
Right. Well, but and I think, like you're saying, if you're putting it in simpler terms, it's just truly trying to have great positive thoughts and learning to trust the journey that you're in, and realizing that, we're here for a reason. There's a purpose for why we're here. We don't always understand it, but at the same token, we have a choice to either live it and enjoy it, or either, sit back and just constantly complain about, this or this or that. And we all know that, like you said, when we're thinking negative thoughts, that 90% of the time, if you put it out there in atmosphere, this is what's going to happen.
No, I mean, really, it's pretty incredible. Excuse me. There is a book by Rhonda Byrne. She wrote The Power, and she also wrote In the Secret, which is about the law of attraction. Okay. But that's a powerful book. She just talks about how every thought that you hold in your mind, every word, every thought impacts your life so significantly. So, be careful of the words that you choose. And I think starting the day out in a positive way really helps set the tone for the day. So that's something that I highly recommend also. I think it's a powerful way to create a positive mindset, just setting the intention for the day, maybe exercising in the morning, meditating.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I heard you say earlier that you love to work out. So tell us what a day is like for Dr. Samreen. Tell us how you start your day.
Yeah, well, things change a little when you have a 5-year-old. So I do try to stay consistent. I work out every single day, and I don't do anything high intensity or hardcore. I'm a firm believer in moderation. And sometimes if you overdo it, that's not good either. That can create more stress. But I think so. Like a day or a week in my workout life is every day I will go for a walk, and I try to do it first thing in the morning. I do some stretches in the morning. They're like yoga stretches, but that and some core. And then a couple of times a week, I'll do weightlifting. Sometimes I'll do Zumba. I had an ankle injury recently, so
you're a Zumba fan.
Oh yeah, I love dance. I love Zumba because it's fun, and I think you have to have fun. That's a big part of being positive, just creating things that give you joy. So I love dance, love Zumba for sure. And then I try to incorporate some Pilates in my workouts because I think it's really important to keep your core strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay. Well, I always just like to hear, I mean, like I said, I think a big part of when we were talking earlier before we even got on, I think it's always so important that people realize that we're very human. There's nothing about us that's any different than anybody else. What only difference is our journey is different, and we've taken it and have gravitated to it and have learned to try to continue to maintain our own, empowering our own selves so that we can continue to empower others. And I think that's the thing that I always want people to take, away from our conversations is that, you have to start somewhere. And, when you, as we all say, it just takes that little bit of faith, that little step to believe in who you are and what you're trying to accomplish and you want to accomplish. But when you are thinking positively and you have a clear mindset, you are able to do pretty much anything and accomplish pretty much anything and everything, even if it takes you, 10 years down the road. The bottom line is that you can continue to live your dreams the way that you want to live them, as long as you continue to put in the time and the effort that you need to do in order to be a success. I honestly believe that.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, we're all on a journey. We all have our own lessons to learn in life and challenges. And I just think that, and this is why I'm so passionate about what I do with the life coaching is I think that people can kind of overcome challenges and deal with the pain that come from challenges in their life, either going about it the long way or the short way. So when I say the short way, it's like, there are shortcuts that help you get to to feel your power. Because I want women to own their power. I want women to step into their power because we all have that capability. We were all born with incredible power. And it's just, like I said earlier, it's our limiting beliefs, unfortunately, that kind of affected so many women primarily, but just, our self-image. And I think that I think we can live such fulfilling lives if we can tap into our inner power that we all have.
Right. I agree with that. Because we live in a world that's constantly telling us every day, how we're supposed to be, the way you're supposed to think, the way you're supposed to look. And you have to definitely, push all of that aside and out of your mind. You get to the point where I don't even like listening to news anymore because everything is negative, so you get to the point where if you held on to all that negativity that surrounds you in your life, you would fail in everything because it would just be too much to carry the load. And I think that the reality is that, we put too much on our shoulders. We're trying to, hold on to the world, hold on to ourselves and everybody else around us. And especially as women, we do this consistently. So being able to, let that load off and realize what we bring to the table is just as important, knowing and understand who you are, your value, all of that is something that, you have to change your mindset in order to see who you are. And, what you're doing for women, I think is amazing and it's empowering. And I love it. I always love talking to other women who are there to empower other women to realize their greatness. And, and you doing this every day and with your programs, I appreciate you. And I'm sure there are many other women who appreciate being able to have the opportunity to communicate with you and helping them get through their struggles so that they can continue to move forward in life.
Yes. And I just have to say thank you for that. Really, as women, especially, we are leaders. We take care of our families. We have work and businesses, and it's so much on our shoulders. You're right. And but as leaders, we really need to prioritize our self-care. And that's one of the things I keep trying to remind my clients is you have to create those daily, things in your life, where daily habits that after a while, they're not so hard to do because they're part of your lifestyle.
Right.
But things like exercising daily, meditating daily, getting enough sleep, doing a gratitude journal. Like, there are so many things, but making it a lifestyle. For your self-care needs to be a priority. It will help you become a better leader, a better mother, better business owner. Excuse me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely hit it. You know, it's not just something you just do. It is a life change, a lifestyle change. And that's with everything that we do. And what you learn is that once you're doing those little changes, every little thing will change. You know, it's not just the career, you know, or the business, but your personal self and your personal life will glow in a way that, you know, you probably have never seen it before once you start determining and deciding that you are important. And that is the key word, is that we are important. It's like you have to constantly,
absolutely.
Yeah, you have to constantly remind
that. Because you feel a greater sense of peace and joy and just a happiness, you know, and I want women to feel that, because that's how we were designed. That's how we were meant to live. And I think it's definitely achievable.
Right. Well, I honestly believe, you know, because we spend so much time, you know, trying to ensure that everybody else is happy and then they have their happiness. If we just turn that back onto us, we would be in that same boat. We wouldn't have to feel like we have that struggle. So, you know, I believe, you know, you're saying that we're definitely here as women to bring that to, you know, ensure everybody is successful and that they have what they need. But when you start focusing on yourself more, then you can absolutely continue to help those other people. But you become much more important, and you realize that you have to set those boundaries in order to be able to have a good life of your own and to continue to help others. I mean, that's, you know, the reality.
Yeah, and excuse me, and I definitely think that you know, it's important to look at what the alternative is, because oftentimes we get kind of stuck in a rut and we are afraid to step out of our comfort zone and make changes in our life. But just think about what will happen if you continue to do what you're doing right now. You know, what is your life going to be like in 10 years? So think about, you know, one thing to do is think about when you wake up in the morning, what is your why? What is your intention? What are your goals? Like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because really, if you don't make these changes now, you're not going to see good results. It can affect your health, and you know, the alternative is not good. Right.
And most people are already at that alternative. They're already there. Now it's like, how do you get out of that? You know,
you get out of it. Yeah.
Right. Usually you're already halfway there, you know, so the key is to not get there and not have to, you know, come out of the dirt, you know, from underneath the dirt. And, you know, you want to be able to stay on top of and above the dirt in order to, you know, maintain yourself and be happy in the life that you live. So, wow, we are definitely.
Yeah, I can talk on and on about this.
I know, but you know, it's a great topic and a great discussion to have, because, you know, we're always, as women, we're always striving to understand why it's so hard for us to be able to put ourselves first. I mean, it seems to be the constant conversation that I hear every day, you know, or I'm having with my girlfriends, or vice versa. You know, we're always pulling each other out of that dirt, you know, because we're sinking faster than we can stay above, and we're trying to understand why is that constant, because like you said, go ahead, you're gonna say something.
Yes, and I feel like this is really important to address to your audience, because it just kind of circles back to what you were talking about in the beginning. But really, the reason it's so hard is because of habits. Because, and this is going back to working as a physical therapist too, because what happens is when we start to make changes in our life, we want something so bad, but it's hard because it's not a habit yet. You know, why do people not succeed with their New Year's resolutions? Because of lack of consistency and lack of self-discipline and the neural pathways in the brain. And this is what we learned in physical therapy school with stroke patients, is the neural pathways in the brain haven't yet formed. So, I mean, that's why I think it's so important to have a life coach for the accountability and support, because it is so hard to go backwards. So hard to keep moving forward and stay consistent, easy to go backwards. You know, it's easy to slip back because those neural pathways haven't been formed yet. So it's so important to stay consistent in whatever. I mean, I have a my recent blog post is all about consistency and staying disciplined to accomplish your goals, because it comes down to that.
Right. You're absolutely right. And that's with everything we do. Whether doesn't matter whether whether you're in business or whether you're, looking at your career or you're in school, it is absolutely the truth. If we're not consistent, it's easier to take that step backwards than it is to take that step forward. Because, you can just throw your hands up and be like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's much simpler.
You said it's easy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But wow, Dr. Samreen, like I said, we could talk about this all night. We are definitely, definitely at the end.
I just wanted to bring in all the main points to really help your audience, because
absolutely.
I'm so passionate about it.
Absolutely. Well, if there's something that we did not, obviously, we can't cover everything, but I'm sure there are people who are listening, and I would love for you to tell them how they can reach you, and, if they need some help, where they can get that help and all that good stuff. So why don't you share that information with us this evening?
Absolutely. So I can give my website. And if you go to my website, you can download the top tips on how to reduce stress and remedy burnout. So that's free access. You can also get a free consultation with me for life coaching. Just go to my website and you'll see all the information there. It's www.coachingbysamreen.com, coachingbysamreen.com, and Samreen is spelled Samreen. And then I have Instagram, which is the same, Coaching by Samreen, and LinkedIn and Facebook is the same as well.
All right. Yes. And I definitely have that information. So I will absolutely share that, in the bio and so forth, so everybody can have that when they want to be able to reach out to you. And again, I really, really appreciate it. But before you go, I don't think I have forgotten about this. I want to know, what is the meaning of your name?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Right. So Samreen is an Arabic name, and I think it means fruitful. And Mongillo is an Italian name, and I don't know what it means.
Okay.
I have to ask my husband.
Well, at least you got one out of the two, so that's good.
Means, yeah.
Well,
He's going to be like,
important.
Right.
But we got the most important. Samreen is, great that you have his last name, but hey, the Samreen is just beautiful, and the meaning, it's perfect for you. So I've just been wondering,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, from the time I've seen the name earlier, like I was telling you, I was like, wow, so that's an interesting name. So I definitely wanted to know that, what it stood for, and absolutely fruitful is the right meaning for you. So again, I definitely.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Thank you. And I absolutely appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I'm going to give you, do you have any last words that you want to share with the listeners this evening?
Yeah, I would say just always believe in yourself. That's really like the secret to success in life and with anything. Remember how powerful you are, and own your life, own your power. You have so much more control over your life than you realize. Believe in yourself.
That's right. All righty. Well, we heard it from the best, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed listening to Dr. Samreen Mongillo. She is phenomenal life coach. Please reach out to her if you have any more questions or have any concerns that, you would like to go over with her. And of course, for us, I definitely hope that you guys all learn how to think about creating a successful mindset. Yes, our conversation is, personal and professional, but we all have somewhere to start. And my thought process is always that, hey, are you ready for success? Are you ready to, live out those dreams and let's turn those dreams into goals? You can reach out to me at Kimberly at WSBILC@gmail.com. I love to be able to chat with you to figure out where you're at, where your mindset is. What can we do to help you move forward? And of course, if you want more of your resource for success, we are now accepting monetary donations to support the podcast. And you can send those through Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods tip jar, or go to the website at www.wsbillc.com. Again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. And again, thank you, Dr. Samreen, for coming on with us. And of course, we'll be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.